Good evening. My name is Kathleen Endorf. I'm a school counselor in Alachua County Public Schools, and I'm also a school counselor consultant for PACE for girls and for AMI schools. Lindsay Brown is also a school counselor in Alachua County, and she is our school counselor consultant for the Department of Juvenile Justice Detention Center, as well as the Challenge Academy. Today we want to talk about anger and how to manage anger. So first we want to identify some skills that you need in order to take charge of your anger. So you need to be able to identify a range of feelings, including anger. So what does anger look like? What other feelings could you be experiencing that are leading to anger? You want to be able to identify internal cues and aggressive acts by yourself or others. So what are those things happening inside of you, and what is an aggressive act? Identifying the potential consequences to yourself and others from aggressive acts, identifying thoughts prior to being aggressive, developing coping mechanisms for dealing with anger, and how to express anger without loss of control. So these are actually skills that people learn. They're not innate skills that we typically just know. We have to teach and learn these behaviors and these skills. And so this video is primarily for parents to help teach these skills to their children. But sometimes we could be learning these skills throughout our lifetime. So there's really no age limit to when you can learn or grow these skills. So we want to identify what is anger and actually define it for you. So anger, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is a strong feeling of emotion, displeasure, or hostility. So it's important to know that anger is an emotion. It is actually typically defined as a secondary emotion, where it can actually, it stems from some underlying feeling. So a lot of times we get angry in response to feeling sad or anxious or frustrated, jealous, feeling abandoned by someone when there's an injustice happening and we want to do something about it, or it just makes us mad, feeling helpless or embarrassed. A lot of these primary feelings lead to anger. So it's important to know kind of where's the anger coming from. Is it another emotion that's leading us to feel angry? Sometimes when we have learning disabilities, or just difficulties with learning, such as ADHD and dyslexia, these can contribute to negative feelings, which, for example, makes you frustrated if you're having trouble learning, and or maybe even embarrassed because other students aren't having as much trouble learning the topic, so that makes us frustrated or embarrassed, or we feel like we can't do anything about it, which can lead to anger. Another important thing to remember is that anger, it could either be momentary, so it can happen in the moment, but it can also be long lasting. So a lot of times, if we haven't dealt with our anger, it can kind of just stay with us for long periods of time, and then little things might make us angry if we haven't dealt with the bigger things that are leading to it. We wanted to explain anger because we also want to explain aggression so that you know the difference between anger and aggression. So whereas anger is the feeling or the emotion, aggression is a hostile or violent behavior or an attitude towards someone else. It's a readiness to attack or confront. So aggression is the behavior, whereas anger is the emotion. It typically stems from uncontrolled anger or fear. So aggression is typically that natural response to anger, where you might get physical, but that's what we're going to try to kind of discuss, is how to, instead of be aggressive with our anger, we find other ways to deal with our anger. And we want to emphasize that it's okay and normal to be angry because that's an emotion and a feeling, but it's not okay to be aggressive towards yourself or others. So we want to compare the two and what they look like. So anger, you'll probably recognize that emotion, that internal response Your stomach might get tight or get upset. Your heart's beating faster. You might clench your fists. You might feel yourself getting flushed where you get really hot. Pressure on your temples. Maybe your head starts to hurt. Sweaty palms, a clenched jaw, that look, that emoji of being mad. You might start shaking or crying, and you've got this adrenaline pumping through your body. So it's very more of an internal physical response that's happening just to yourself, whereas aggression is that behavior external response where someone could actually observe you maybe throwing something or kicking someone or even kicking something, getting in someone's face and yelling at them, shoving or grabbing or hitting, breaking something, calling someone names, giving someone a dirty look, giving someone the silent treatment, getting others to gang up on people, spreading rumors. So these aggressive acts tend to be what people do when they're angry. But it does lead to consequences. So those aggressive acts, they might feel good in the moment. You might feel like you're doing something with your anger, but it does lead to some consequences. We've listed a few consequences here of aggression and aggressive behaviors. So these are not consequences of anger, but they are consequences of using an aggressive response to your anger. So a consequence could be physical harm to either yourself or someone else. It could be destruction of property, loss of family or friends, whether you have lost them because they have decided not to have you in their life anymore. It could potentially be even losing someone due to a death, loss of a job, suspension or expulsion from school, not graduating high school, loss of social privileges. So I know a lot of students that are on probation because of their aggressive acts don't have the ability to get a driver's license. They're not allowed to go to certain events like football games or prom. They might even lose their privileges of going out with their friends because we have students on ankle monitors. So there are going to be consequences of your social life when you use aggression. Misdemeanors, felony charges, going to jail, or getting a bad reputation, just in general, whether that reputation is at a school, in your family, or even in the community. So these consequences might, again, be immediate consequences. They might be long-term, but they do have, it varies for sure. So what we want to do is remind you that feeling angry is normal. Being aggressive is a choice. So how you respond to being angry is your choice. And we want you to take charge of that. We don't want you to be impulsive and respond in that negative, aggressive way, but to really think and figure out how do you want to respond to anger. So here, stop and think. So some thoughts that lead us towards an aggressive behavior, right? Versus thoughts that could prevent aggression. So when we're angry, there are some thoughts that we might have. So we might stop and think, but that can still lead to aggressive behaviors depending on those thoughts that you're putting in. So if you're thinking, this person did this on purpose, they wanted to hurt me, you deserve this, or I'll show you, or there's no justice, I have to take control, you started it, you will respect me, no one can help me. These thoughts might actually lead you to more aggressive behaviors. To try to prevent going into that aggressive state, it's nice to reflect. So instead of just thinking about what's happening to make you angry, reflect, like, is this really about me? Like, am I angry at this person because they did something to me, or am I kind of overreacting to the situation? Maybe I'm angry about something else, but I'm taking it out on this situation. Will this hurt me or will this help me? How will I feel in an hour? So, maybe you're angry right now, but if you got out of the situation and thought about it or calmed down a little bit, maybe in an hour it won't be that big of a deal. maybe think, is there someone who could help me through this situation, or am I all alone in this? And then is it worth it? So is having an aggressive response going to be worth what I'm hoping to get out of this? So thinking through the situation a little bit and reflecting a little bit can change the way you decide to respond. So then leading into decide what to do. So once you've thought about it, how can you calm down to avoid aggression? So I kind of like to think of it as a person, place, or thing. So there could be a person that you talk to that you trust that will help you work through the situation and look for different solutions. There might be a place you need to go. Sometimes if you change your environment, it can change the way you see things, and also change the way you feel. So if you have a place that you feel safe, you can relax, that might help change the way you see things. And then a thing. So maybe you do something that helps you calm down. So breathing exercise. Sometimes people like to do a physical activity like run or go to the boxing gym. We might play with a toy, just something to fidget with or color. Sometimes reading helps us get our mind off things, or listening to music. So a person, place, or thing that can help you calm down. We also want to talk about how to stay cool. So managing anger is more than just a response in the moment. Anger can and will come again. So we want you to be ready. So we need to remember that there is prevention. We don't always know when we're going to get angry, but we kind of know what makes us angry, right? So if you know what and who potentially can push your buttons, right? So what are those triggers that you have? What are those things that really bother you? So trying to think of an example. Maybe there's someone in your class, every time they say something, you just kind of like, it's so annoying. I can't stand this person, right? You have a choice on how to respond to that. But maybe you either need to learn how to tolerate that person or that situation, or you have to avoid it completely because you don't know how to tolerate it. And so when you know what bothers you or what makes you angry, we want you to try to find ways to work through it, or we need to find a way to avoid it. So just using that example, if it's someone in your class, and you feel kind of stuck with them, talk to your school counselor or a teacher and see if you can change classes. Something as little as that can help you feel better. We want to help you with. So another way to kind of learn how to manage that long-term preparation, so you're prepared for anger, is how to change your thoughts. So a lot of times some people have just automatic negative thoughts. So we want to challenge those negative thoughts with positive ones. So learning how to recognize, okay, wait, I'm really thinking negative here. I need to start thinking more positively, or at least maybe giving people a benefit of the doubt, or looking at positive solutions. So learning to recognize and change those thoughts is going to help you be prepared for an angry moment. Envisioning your future helps you, it helps calm you down and, just helps you analyze what to do, because if you have plans and goals, you're less likely to do things that are going to interfere with that. So if you have no idea what your life's going to look like in 5 or 10 years, we want you to start thinking about that. And really start picturing, what do you want your life to look like? Because the choices you make can either help get you to that, or it can lead to different outcomes. So if you're considering, if you're envisioning your future, then that will help you consider your actions. Also consider counseling. So if you have that long-term anger, where there's something you don't know why you're so angry, but you do get angry a lot, and you're noticing that little things bother you, and regular people around you aren't as bothered, but you are so annoyed or bothered all the time, like there might be some underlying cause to that anger. And counseling is a real good way of finding that out. So it's a structured time where you get to meet with someone and really just sort of explore most of the time you're kind of exploring your past and what's happened to us and how did the things that have happened to us affect how we see the world and the way that we respond to things. And so counseling can be a way of preparing again for what to do when you're angry. So our last thing is just daily self-care. So again, managing anger is, you have to be prepared by eating healthy, getting enough sleep, exercising, taking care of your body and your mind just on a general daily basis is going to make you more prepared for a moment where you're angry. If you're already tired, right, you're more on edge. If you're hungry, you've heard the phrase hangry. So when you're hungry or you're tired, you're just more on edge and you're more likely to snap at somebody. So again, that anger, it might not be as big of a deal if you've had enough sleep and you're full, but if you're hungry and tired, something might make you madder than it would normally. Consider like adding more positive statements to your daily life. Remember we were talking about changing your thoughts from negative to positive. Sometimes it helps to practice these statements. So I'm going to review them, but if you hear anything that does sound like something you want to live by or if you want to be able to think these more often, feel free to write them down. And sometimes people put a Post-it on their mirror, or they might put it on their phone background so that they see it on a daily basis. Even just putting like a reminder in your phone to go off every day at a certain time, just so that you're reminding yourself of these statements, it might help make it more automatic for you. So a few statements that we put together are: I don't have to hold on to my anger. I choose to control my thoughts. I talk about hurt and angry feelings. I am in charge of my own feelings. I stand up for myself and others who are being hurt. I am strong when I use fair and firm words instead of fists. I stop blaming others. The more I learn to take care of my anger, the more powerful I become. I control how I let my anger out. The last thing here are a few resources for parents. So the first one is awesome. It's called parentguidance.org. What I like about it is there's courses that you can go through, kind of self-paced courses, similar to this, maybe where someone's teaching you something. But what's also great is they have the ability to have you connect with somebody. So it's a counselor or just a parenting coach, just someone who has experience and knowledge, and you can just run something by them. It's not that they know better than you. It's just that they might have seen other ways of handling things. Or, if you're raising teenagers and they can be confusing. So having someone that's kind of been there or has a little bit more knowledge and experience, it just helps you run by scenarios with them and get some advice. And that's all free and paid for by Alachua County Public Schools. So if you go to that website and sign up, you'll just put in that Alachua County is your district, and that should give you free access. This presentation primarily came from an article called Control Anger Before It Controls You. And we got that through APA.org, which is the American Psychology Association. And then another cool website is understood.org. If you just type in anger into the search bar on this website, it can lead you to some information about anger. But the website also has some pretty cool resources on other topics that might be interesting to you. So that's all we have today. I hope you got something out of it. Again, this is geared towards parents to help you just navigate the topic of managing anger with your students or your children. I think it's important to address this at any age. And there's no age limit to learning how to manage your anger. Feel free to watch this again or reach out to Lindsay or I if you would like to talk through this more on a kind of more individual level. Thank you so much for your time and have a great day.